Everything Donald Trump is doing is a political stunt. His reaction to Charlie Kirk's death, something he doesn't actually care about, is just a means to advance his authoritarian project. His invasion of DC, LA, these aren't to keep communities safe. It's because Donald Trump wants to expand the police state. But all of the moves he's making to play this political theater haven't been too successful. And the latest example, an event in which he thought he'd be cheered but was booed, is one of the worst yet, and the reason why he had to make an insane post that we're going to get into. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button, because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, of course, Donald Trump was booed at Yankee Stadium, but before we get into that and the insane post he made in reaction, I want to start with the other attack that he's making against New York and Zohran Mamdani right here.
Mr. President, see these buildings? A lot of them in New York City you built.
I do.
That's called capitalism, not socialism. We have Mamdani, who is ahead in the polls here. What's your reaction?
It's amazing.
It's up by 20.
I call him my little communist. He's my little communist mayor. But, you know, he has to come to Washington for money, a lot of money. And it's amazing. I was so surprised by this. Even the other two candidates, I mean, you know, you look at the candidates. Now, maybe one-on-one somebody could beat him, and I'm not looking at the polls too carefully, but it would look like he's going to win. And that's a rebellion. It's also a rebellion against bad candidates, okay? It's a rebellion. They're tired of it. You know, they're seeing things happening. We have taxes being put on us in New York by Democrats that are so bad that even the Democrats are revolting. It's not possible for a Democrat to lose.
All I can hear playing in my head is the clips that I will show again and again and again of Jessica Tarlov saying, "Spare me." She said it all last year and into this year, and she's been right every time. Donald Trump and the right now want to claim that fascist is a slur because we're calling out their fascistic actions. If you are an authoritarian who declares himself as such and says, "I'll be a dictator on day one," then spare me when I call that out. Donald Trump is trying to leverage Charlie Kirk's death to not only expand his authoritarian project, but try to silence anyone that criticizes it. It's the reason I refuse to give some condemnation that I'm not even responsible for. It is outrageous, especially when their actual motives are as clear as day. Just look at Stephen Miller right here.
Under President Trump's leadership, I don't care how, it could be a RICO charge, a conspiracy charge, conspiracy against the United States, insurrection, but we are going to do what it takes to dismantle the organizations and the entities that are fomenting riots, that are doxing, that are trying to inspire terrorism, and that are committing acts of wanton violence. It has to stop. And my message is to all of the domestic terrorists in this country spreading this evil hate: you want us to live in fear? We will not live in fear, but you will live in exile, because the power of law enforcement under President Trump's leadership will be used to find you, will be used to take away your money, take away your power, and if you've broken the law, to take away your freedom, Sean.
They are weaponizing this death, and not because they are so heartbroken and want to avenge their friend who they say was a champion of free speech. If that was the case, they wouldn't actively be firing people in the Department of, and I'm going to call it the Department of Defense, at the Pentagon. I'm not going to say the Department of War. But that's why they're firing people who mocked his death or who were indifferent. Any post that they don't think is nice enough to Charlie Kirk, Pete Hegseth will fire you for. That is a systematic purging of our government based on loyalty to Donald Trump that leads us where? To a more unsafe place. The reason why Charlie Kirk's killer was turned in by his father and wasn't tracked down by the FBI is because of the very purges that we're seeing right now, based on loyalty, not one's ability to actually do their job. Donald Trump doesn't care, Pete Hegseth doesn't care, Stephen Miller sure as shit doesn't care, and so you shouldn't have to either. Their theater is backfiring, and it certainly did when Trump got booed, and that's why he had to spin it. After getting booed at Yankee Stadium, Trump rewrites history with Yankee Stadium whitewash. Donald Trump was greeted with a loud chorus of boos on Thursday when he appeared at Yankee Stadium to commemorate the anniversary of September 11th attacks, and a video Trump shared to Truth Social depicting his attendance at the game. However, not a single jeer can be heard. Instead, raucous applause features front and center in the soundtrack accompanying the video. Now, I don't even want to play the video of Donald Trump getting fake cheered, but it is very clear that they just compiled a few clips of people applauding him to make it seem like Donald Trump is the big popular guy in New York. The president's lukewarm reception at Yankee Stadium follows a similarly mixed response from the crowd at the U.S. Open on Sunday. Booing could be heard as Trump appeared in Arthur Ashe Stadium to watch the men's single. Trump and his entourage, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, were also met with taunts at D.C. eatery Joe's Seafood on Tuesday. Protesters from anti-war group Code Pink chanted "Free Palestine" and said Trump is the Hitler of our time. I think it is very important that we keep in mind that Donald Trump was just publicly booed to his face, called the Hitler of our time, as he continues to say that anyone who calls Republicans Nazis or refers to him as Hitler should be silenced, should be suppressed, is inflaming political tensions. Mind you, it was J.D. Vance, the current vice president, who first said that Donald Trump was America's Hitler. Again, it's the reason you can't get me to feel fake sorry for Charlie Kirk. This is not my fault. We have not created a climate in which these shootings happen. It has been from the right who disproportionately carries out these shootings. It is young white men, yet the right so quickly jumped to say that this was a person of color or a transgender American. Why? Because that's what they wanted. They weren't reflecting, they weren't mourning, they weren't thinking about how we have chosen this policy outcome of gun violence. They were praying that the shooter could be someone that they could attack. And now they're saying Jesus would want us to forgive them. That is how quickly they've turned, because they don't actually care. So don't think that you have to be forced to. They want you to pretend that you care so they can buy themselves a few extra days of not talking about the Epstein files and expanding their police state. We're not going to let it happen, especially as Donald Trump has declared war on another city. That was all broken down right here.
So ever since Donald Trump first deployed National Guard troops in the streets of Los Angeles and then, of course, in Washington, D.C., he has been itching to occupy more Democratic-controlled cities, using the pretext, of course, we've seen this before, of cracking down on crime. Chicago has long been his favorite next target. But after running into a whole lot of opposition from local and state leaders, including the governor, today he appeared to scrap that plan, at least, and this is a key caveat for the moment. And now he has turned his attention to Memphis, Tennessee.
We're going to Memphis. Memphis is
That's the next city.
Deeply troubled. And the mayor is happy. He's a Democrat mayor. The mayor is happy. And the governor, Tennessee, the governor is happy. Deeply troubled. We're going to fix that just like we did Washington. Straighten that out.
National Guard?
National Guard and anybody else we need. And by the way, we'll bring in the military, too, if we need it.
Like the other cities that Trump has targeted, Memphis is a Democratic-controlled city with a significant population of black residents. But what sets Memphis apart is that the state of Tennessee has a Republican governor, Bill Lee. And Lee appears to be fully embracing Trump's plans. Memphis's Democratic mayor, Paul Young, however, the one Trump said was happy, seemed pointedly unhappy during a press conference this afternoon.
I do not support the National Guard. However, they are coming. It's not the mayor's call. The mayor doesn't have a say or the authority to stop them from coming. And so my goal is to make sure that as they come, that I have an opportunity to work with them to strategize on how they engage in this community.
Yeah, that's not a happy guy. Joining me now is Tennessee State Representative Justin J. Pearson, whose district includes part of Memphis. Thank you so much for being here with me tonight. Let me first ask you for your reaction to Trump's announcement this morning.
People in Memphis are disappointed, angry, frustrated with the continuation of the abuse of power by this administration toward his own authoritarian aims. And it is nothing more than using our city as a white supremacist ploy to ensure that his base stays riled up and does not pay attention to the reality of the facts in our city and cities across the country, which is that the federal government is not investing in our cities. That is what is leading to poverty. That's what's leading to crime that's happening. That's what's leading to the problems that we face. It's a disinvestment. We don't need a military occupation. What we need is the federal government to invest in our cities, invest in our communities financially to the tune of billions of dollars so that we are able to address some of the issues and the concerns that we have. I am vehemently opposed to the National Guard being in Memphis and Shelby County. This is not what we need. This is not the intervention that we need. And this is not what our communities deserve. But it is no coincidence that we are a majority Black city with Black people in positions of power here, and that Donald Trump and Bill Lee and Cameron Sexton and Republicans who are in positions of power here are pushing to do this.
No coincidence at all. I think there's no doubt about that, and I'm glad you called it out. Let me ask you, I mentioned Chicago, and I think I caveated it. At this moment, it appears like he was pulling back this morning. We'll see what he does. There's lots of tricks up his sleeve around these sorts of things. But part of it was in response, it seems, at least for the moment, to a lot of pushback from local leaders, from the governor, which you don't unfortunately have that. You are an activist in your heart and soul. Have you been a part of any discussions about how to push back and how to kind of mobilize resistance in Memphis?
Absolutely. I've been a part of discussions and conversations with some amazing leaders and community organizers here in Memphis that are going to organize to ensure that we know our rights, to resist, and to make it very clear that we do not want the militarization of our streets and our communities because it makes our communities less safe. And when we saw this happen in Washington, D.C., we also saw an increase in ICE presence in Washington, D.C., something else that we are deeply concerned about, that we're troubled about for our community members. And so there's already momentum building to protect Memphis, and Memphis will fight for itself. Memphis will stand up against authoritarianism, a wannabe dictator, and anyone who's trying to do things that are harmful to us. And across this country, we need to pay attention because this is a test case in authoritarianism. Right now, it seems like this is about crime, which we know it is not because numbers have been dropping. But we have to realize with the midterms coming, with another presidential election, the federalization of our National Guard is an erosion of our democratic rights. And that is something else that we need to pay attention to.
This is all theater, and we cannot allow ourselves to be caught up in it. We have to be as vocal as ever in calling it out, and we're certainly going to be doing so on this show with a little bit of that tone shift that I think everyone's on board with. And on that note, Jesse Waters, go fuck yourself. Stephen Miller, you look terrible on television last night. And if you want to support our channel, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting. Don't be silenced. And until next time, I'll see you soon.